Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sober and Wellness Podcast. I am Abigail Padro, your host, and today I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce my guest, Ashley. She is truly an inspired woman who has embraced an alcohol-free life and found incredible purpose and confidence along the way. So, thank you so much, Ashley, for joining me. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good too. So I'm going to start with the questions so we can jump right in. So, Ashley, can you tell us a little bit about what made you start questioning your relationship with alcohol?
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, it was it started with like a faith-based thing. I started to kind of feel convicted of just living like the party lifestyle. And I just always didn't feel good the next day. Like I don't know. I just felt like kind of ashamed of where I was when I would like party with my friends. And I kept like wanting to just be a healthier version of myself. Like I really wanted to be into fitness and working out and things like that. And I just felt like it was holding me back.
Hmm.
And I remember having a funny, not a funny moment, but kind of a aha moment where I was in Ohio and I was in like one of those nights where I kind of went out with friends and maybe drank a little bit more than I wanted to. And then the only thing that would make me feel better the next day was kind of to walk it off and get back into my thing the next day. So I went out to like the woods, on a trail in the woods. And I remember just like having this standstill moment where I thought like it was so pretty and beautiful. And I thought to myself, there's beauty in death. And I didn't really know what that meant the time, but I realize now it was like the death of my old life. It was going to be the death of my old life. And so that's kind of what started getting me questioning. But I
So
think,
basically, because what I think sometimes with the relationship with alcohol, it's like it's holding you back from living your purposeful life. It's like you know you're capable for more, but alcohol it's kind of like an obstacle, right? Wouldn't you say?
oh yeah, for
Okay, so you started with that journey, and then what happened?
so shortly after that, actually didn't change my relationship with alcohol just yet. Um, and what caused me to finally see the light and go with it was I was out with my friends one night and decided to drive home.
Hmm.
And I ended up getting a DUI, and it just, like started the journey that changed my life. And it was finally like the kick in the butt I needed to be like, okay, I'm done with this. Like, I've got to. I just remember thinking my biggest issue was like saying no. Like, I was always the like, yes girl. So when I would go out with friends and things like that, would like not always want to have any drinks. Like I'd always kind of, yeah, I would just go with the flow because everyone else was doing it. And I felt it was hard to say no. So that's what I needed. And I feel like I just made a conscious decision at that point. I was actually moving to Dallas from Ohio and
Hmm.
I was supposed to move in a month. And I just remember telling my dad, I was just like, if I'm going to quit drinking, like I have to find people doing the same thing. Because when I'm going in this same rut with people that just aren't serving me, I
Hmm.
can't say no. And so that was like the mindset shift I think I needed to decide at that point.
Yeah, I like that. That we definitely, I think, yeah, you had it. You were on point. We do need people that are, if they're not in the journey, at least to support you in it, right? It's really hard to change your lifestyle, especially when alcohol is so ingrained in our society for everyone these days. It's just not. you know, and you don't have to be an alcoholic, meaning that you have to be losing your life, right? Or you can have a situation like in your case that can happen to anyone that drinks and drive, because we shouldn't do it. And I know I did it. I did it a bunch of times. And I'm thankful I never got any DUI, but that doesn't mean that I did it right. So definitely I see how getting a DUI will be something that will be like, okay, hold on. It's time to reevaluate this relationship. Where am I going? But that made me think of a question for you, which is, many women these days, believe it or not, feel like their identity is tied to drinking. How do you navigate that shift from, being a drinker to a person that now is reevaluating and changing her relationship with alcohol? Was that tough?
Yeah, it was definitely tough, especially in the beginning. I feel like I was just kind of, I didn't even know how it would be to be in a society of people that aren't drinking. Like, how do I even not drink? I remember saying everybody drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was kind of in like the woman's role. Like you go with your friends, at least for me. I would go with my friends. I would go to the bar, the club, whatnot. And it was just the whole lifestyle. But I think what helped changing my perspective was I never realized when I stopped drinking how great life could be. And my identity totally shifted. It's so crazy to me because I'm doing things now that I never dreamed of doing a year and a half ago. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm just a totally different person. And I'm like, that's what keeps me from going back because I'm like, I don't want to go back to that. I like who I am now. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm pursuing my purpose. I filled my life with only people that serve me. I got rid of a lot of toxic people, did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
healing. I just like friendship healing. I remember writing a letter to my friend. I didn't actually send it to her, but I wrote a letter just saying, I'm upset about these things you did to me, but I forgive you. And forgive me for all the things I did. This was like a friendship. We kind of like went our separate ways, but I just, looking back now, that let me heal to move on to where I could accept people in my life that are good for me. And so that's one of the biggest things I would say.
I love that. I like also what you said, because I truly believe that when you start looking at your relationship with alcohol, right? You don't have to, I always tell people, you don't have to start with like, I'm never going to drink again. That's like a big mountain to climb at once, right? But once you do it, I like the fact that you said like your whole identity shifted, because that's exactly how I feel. I'm right now at close to 2 years alcohol free. I'm like 20, almost 21 months. And I am a totally different human being that I ever thought it was possible. And I know we share the same faith, we believe in God and stuff like that. And alcohol was something that was also hindering my relationship with God and just my overall purpose, because it had me so distracted. That's what I called alcohol in my life. It was a distraction. Some people have a lot of issues with alcohol, I get it. But in my case, instead of being more of an alcohol, it was a big distraction that took me away from my purpose. It took my mental clarity away. It took my motivation, or not completely my motivation. I will say the consistency to keep doing the things that I wanted to do at one point, that I started motivated, because I will be, when you drink a Friday night, or let's say a Thursday night, because I do real estate, I have my own business. So I don't have a schedule. I have a free, life in that way. If I drink on a Tuesday, do you think whatever I had set my mind for Wednesday, whether let's say I didn't get blacked out or anything like that, just I went drinking with friends, do you think I will be the same way the next day? You're not in your 100% way, no matter what. I don't care if you had two, three. Alcohol just drain your energy. It's a drained sucker of your energy. I also love that you said healing. Because oh my god, did I do healings, those moments where tears comes out of nowhere when you're like, I haven't dealt with that, and I use alcohol as a numbing agent. It was my favorite way to deal with life. That's how I actually navigated my whole broken relationships in my early 20s and in my 30s. I mean, it's just the truth. So after you do all of that and you start with the healing, I love that you did that letter because you're letting yourself heal, right? It's not about the outcome or if you become friends with that friend again. It's more about you're just putting the energy out and you're saying, you know what, I am good. And that allows you to get new relationships. So how does life look now with your friendships and relationship now that you have shifted your relationship with alcohol?
So now when I want to talk about, I guess, when I bring people into my life, there's a filter. And for example, with dating, I went out with this guy and basically he was drinking the first day and then drinking this on the second date. And I'm like, I just don't want to surround myself with that. And then friendships too. Like if I just have to have a filter for myself. So I can be friends with someone that drinks on occasion,
Mm-hmm.
but for me that's a big filter because they're not going to serve me as a friend in the way that I need a friend. Because I need someone
Mm-hmm.
that's young and helps me in my daily walk, you know? And so,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as now, relationships have changed. I feel like my group is small, but there's no one toxic. Not one person toxic in my inner circle. And everyone that is in my inner circle that I talk to lifts me up and communicates and just really doesn't bring me down. I would say that's the biggest thing. I'm close with my family and it was really kind of cool. I always say that my I've never my parents don't use words to say they'll say they love me. They've always said that, but they've never said that they're proud of me. And through this journey, that was kind of a cool moment. Like my mom said, she sent me a card and she said, "We're so proud of you." And I just
Aw.
before,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, life looks happy and peaceful. So,
That's beautiful. Yeah, putting boundaries, basically. Yeah, the filter boundaries with people, which I think it's one of the hardest things to do.
mm,
I think when you start this journey, one of the hardest question that you have to ask yourself and evaluate it's your relationships with those, especially with toxic friendships, because I think we all have had those. Whether you are the toxic person, right, then you have to change, or you're having somebody that's toxic. Because when you bring that toxicity into your life, it brings your energy down, it brings you down, and it's hard. So that's awesome that you were able to change that. Plus, you were moving. I mean, that's completely really changing everything. Let's talk about starting. I mean, changing from Ohio to Texas and starting. And so I guess that at the same time that, because I remember your shares, and the struggle at the beginning. Remember when you were trying to meet friendships and stuff like that? Because, guys, yeah, you do go through we don't want to paint it like this is rainbows and butterflies because I promise you it really is not, especially at the beginning. At the beginning you go through all the bad emotions, like you go through the sadness, you go through the anger, you go through the disappointment of the past things that you have done. But I believe as you step further from your last drink, that's when you start the healing in the process, and then you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, like
mhm.
making decisions like you did. Maybe you have a smaller inner circle now, but you're happy and having peace. I think peace is something that is very undervalued these days. People are so focused in their either go go go, or always looking at the flashiness, or I want more and more and more out of life, that it's not until people hit some sort of rock bottoms or certain situations when you're like, oh my God, none of that really matters right now if I don't have peace. You
Right.
know, going to bed at night, being able to rest, it has no price in what that means to you. So I love that you said the word peace. So now I'm going to ask you, because you said relationship, you're still single, correct? Are you, or I don't know if you are.
I am.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking, because I want to bring that, a lot of people that start this journey, one of the things that they're petrified of doing is dating without alcohol. So if you can elaborate, you touched it a little bit and you said that you understand that your boundaries is that you don't want a person that does that, but you didn't get there that easy. So how is it now? How does dating looks out for you? Do you tell the people, hey, I did change my relationship with alcohol from the beginning, or you meet them first and then you talk about it? How's your process, I guess?
Yeah, so that's definitely progressed from the very beginning stages to where I am now. I would say initially I found it very difficult to date because I wasn't comfortable. Now, being alcohol free, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it is, I don't think about it a lot. I don't think about drinking a lot. I think you have to get to a place. I think it's easier if you get to a place first where you feel comfortable and aren't ruminating on alcohol, or ruminating on partying with your friends or the club or those sort of things, which you could still go to alcohol free, by the way. Uh,
Mhm.
it's, um, I feel like in the beginning, it was hard, and I didn't know how to tell my story. I wouldn't tell men I had a DUI in the past. I wouldn't tell them much. But when I did
Mhm.
start dating, I just wouldn't drink and then I'd feel uncomfortable. Now that I'm comfortable with my decision and all the things. So I started kind of seeing someone in the last 2 weeks, and
Mhm.
I literally have already told him I had a DUI. I told him that's why I don't really want to be around drinking all the time. And I just like put it all out there from the beginning, which I never thought I would do. But I feel like also you have to be with someone that like makes you feel comfortable to share that. And so now, if I don't feel comfortable, like say I'm around friends or something, I just act like it's for my health. Like I remember I was at the pool and I was like being asked, do you want a drink? And I'm like, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. And what I realized is when you do it that way, you don't have to tell everyone your business. You can kind of
Mhm.
go and be like, you don't have to tell anyone your history if you don't want to. You don't have to say
Mhm.
an issue with drinking. You don't have to say any of that with who you don't feel comfortable with. Um, and I've noticed the more nonchalant you are about it, like, no, I'm good. I got to work tomorrow.
Mhm.
I got to be in the gym tomorrow. People don't question it at all. It's so weird.
Yeah.
People just don't question it. But I want to tell the person I'm dating, um, my history, and so they can kind of understand me, and that kind of filters somebody out. Like if they're not okay with that, or if they judge me or shame me, I don't want to be with them anyway. And so
Mhm.
excited for the future now. Like it's not a huge stumbling block like it used to be.
Got it. I like that. It is true. My identity, like we talked a little bit ago, has shifted, right? So if somebody asks me, like for me at the stage that I am now, I shifted from being a drinker to a non-drinker. That's it. I don't drink. And I don't have to give explanations like you say. Nobody has to, but I think it has to do a lot with how you act, because people can see, like if I ask you, oh, you want to drink, and I see you discombobulated and then like you became a whole mess in front of me just because I asked you, that's gonna that's gonna spark my curiosity, and then I'm gonna ask you why not, because you see a person going like you went from being okay so being stressed. So I think owning your story and say, listen, no, I don't want it, it's rare that somebody's gonna ask, but why not, unless it's someone that you know that you used to drink with and they know you and you have, that's a different story. But in my case, everybody knows that I don't drink anymore. That's not a thing. It's not a situation I have to deal with. And one of the things that shifted in this 21 months that I've been going, or 20 months, is that I have become obsessed with Disney now as an
Mhm.
adult. Like there's stages. I've been in Orlando for all my life since I'm little. So when you're little, you love Disney, right? That's like your thing.
Mhm.
Then when you start getting into the teen years, like 16, 17, 18, then Disney's not so cool. You want to go to Universal, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So you miss the love for it. And now I think one of the reasons that I'm so obsessed is because that's an outlet where I built a whole, I know you follow me there. A lot of people don't know about that, but I did, because also for my business, I do have a real estate business. I have a team. And one of the things that as a realtor that you have to do that people don't think about is market yourself and put yourself out there, because people don't come knocking at your door for houses, usually, even though I've been in the business for almost 10 years and I get referral. But the reason I combine those two things, and I have to say that being alcohol free is the only thing that led me there, is because now when I go, it's like a creative outlet. It's something that gets me excited, kind of like that excitement when you knew you were going to go to a bar to drink. I don't know if that makes sense. That kind of like rush
Mhm.
dopamine, that you're going to get that dopamine hit and you're going to have fun. Well, now I get that with Disney, but I'm bringing all of this to say that Epcot has their famous food and wine festival, which is huge. They have all these places around, they call it around the world, that showcase the world with different little places of different parts of the country. And the point is to taste their drinks and their food. So I
Okay.
was there, and I had this epiphany that I was the whole night there, and not even for one moment, even though I was looking at the drinks, I even told, because I go live, I was telling people wanted to know the drinks, and I don't judge anybody. It's not like I can't be with, if you can drink, and that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. And I was telling them, hey, you can have like vodka with this and blah blah blah. Oh, that looks good, because it can look good and refreshing if you have one drink, right? And I
Mhm.
said, in not even one split second that I thought I wanted one.
Mhm.
And I'm like, holy smokes. Like, that wouldn't
Mhm.
be me. First of all, if I will be drinking, I'd be drinking all the drinks. I would not be doing a live. First of all, TikTok is big, and you not having alcohol in your lives, or if you look a certain way that they cut you off, or they can. So you see what I mean? One thing would not lead to the other one. So
Mhm.
it's just interesting how we change. But I wanted to ask you something else now. If you can share, like, well, in your journey, let's go with this. In your journey, what was one of the most challenging obstacles you faced, and how did you overcome it with a mindset? Obviously I see that you have a mindset of strength and resilience.
Well, for me personally, just the whole stress of the DUI, I had to go through
Mm-hmm.
all of that while being alcohol free. And so for someone else, it may be, like a court case, like a custody battle or a job loss
Mm-hmm.
thing. But for me, it was that. And it came with stressors every single few weeks, few months, because I was dealing with a court case. I was dealing with the nursing board because they're going to find out. I had to pay for a lawyer for the DUI and for the nursing board. So that was like tons of money. So financial stress. And I would just say for me, community was what got me through it because I'm very resilient. I've been told that a lot, that I'm very resilient. Like if I decide something, I'm going to do it. If I make, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that shift is the first thing that has to happen for me. But yeah, when I felt like I couldn't, I mean, when I got when I got like the conviction of the DUI, I was beside myself, and the things that went with that. Um, the community is what got me through it. If I wouldn't have had that, I don't think I would have, honestly. So that was the hardest struggle for sure for me.
I can see. I think if I will be in your position, that would definitely be the hardest struggle, even though I have never been to. But I just knowing that you have, like, dealing with a court, it's not an easy thing. It's an uneasy, and it's funny that you mentioned custody, because I went through a divorce. a couple of years ago, and that was tough, even though we were not really fighting. But just when you have to go like mediation, or you have to, like, now after 2020, you don't have to really go to court. Now you can do it, with your lawyer and Zoom, which I
Mhm.
think it's a good thing, because going to court, it's a very intimidating thing on its own. It doesn't matter what it is for, right? Um,
Absolutely.
so I wanted to talk a little bit more about DUI, because if you're okay with it, obviously. So when you get a DUI, because I have friends that I have like 3 DUIs, and I'm like, oh my God, they were at the verge of like revoking their life. Because I think by the third, if I know that each DUI gets more expensive, right? Because
Mhm.
then you have to go in front of a judge and, like, hello, I already gave you a break. You already went through this, and you here the third time, you actually get your whole license revoked, which I think it's crazy. But so how does it work? So you get the night of the DUI, obviously they get you in or whatever, you get out. And then when they convicted you, or they say whatever, this is what it is. How long did it go through before you got there?
So initially, they give you, the paperwork. You have to go to court. Usually your lawyer will kind of go for you. And I think there was a back and forth process of this is the other thing. I got my DUI in Ohio. I had moved to Texas.
Mm.
So anytime I had court, I had to fly back to Ohio.
Uh,
So
to
I would
make it more fun, to make it more interesting.
Yeah, I think it took because I was trying to fight it. And so I think it took about 6 months to actually get the court thing over with. But that doesn't mean the punishment's over. So one of the things, unfortunately, is they took my license away right away. And then, because that's just how Ohio does it. And then I moved. I had to have my parents drive me across the state for this pre-planned move, which this wasn't in the plan, of course. And then I didn't have a license for the first 2 months I was in Dallas. Thankfully, I was in kind of a walkable area, but I had to Uber to work. Then I got my license back and then lost it again a few months later once the conviction actually happened for another 3 months.
Mm.
Had to be on probation for a little bit of time. And the nursing board was the last thing I had to deal with.
Mm.
Thankfully, I had a really good lawyer. I think gave him to me. He was a Christian. Amazing.
Mm.
Did right by me. And so, yeah, I think it was around February, just last February, that the
Mm.
nursing board was finally over. And that was like the last thing. And finally, I just feel free. So it was very
I
long.
felt it when you said it.
So very long process.
So it is. And you said, like, just Uber is expensive to go into work every day, I imagine. So,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
also I believe that you're blessed, because having a good lawyer, it makes the whole difference, right? And what it's your outcome and how the process goes anyway. So that's good that you had somebody good. But what I was thinking is, you see, this is what sometimes we have to think when we're having that moment of having too many drinks, right? Because that's the problem. That one decision when you're drinking, right? It costs you, just because you have a little bit too many. The price that you paid, it was high, because you had to go through what, almost a year of a lot of uncertainty, which it's not easy to deal with. That gives anxiety on its own. Then you had to deal with the court. Then you had to pay Ubers. Then you had to pay a lawyer. And I think one of the biggest things that you're mentioning here is the fact that you're a nurse. You probably could lose your credentials, which that would not allow you to do what you do and you went to school for. So it's just to say that sometimes we really have to put into a scale and say, okay, is this worth it? What if? But the thing is that when you're drinking, everything goes off the radar, and we think that we are Superman and Wonder Woman, and everything is gonna be okay, and nothing's gonna happen to us because we're unstoppable. That's what alcohol makes you believe at the moment until you wake up the next day. I'm like, holy moly. Um, we are coming almost to the end of the podcast, and I wanted to ask you, because I always ask everybody, if you could share one piece of advice with anyone who's listening right now that feels like they're at the beginning of their journey, what will you tell them if they're struggling with it or they're thinking about it? What will be your advice?
That one, that one is personal to me because my beliefs in God. So it might be different for some people, but for me, that would be my. So when I started and I got the DUI and I moved to Dallas, I was so devastated. And I just cried my heart out to God. Is God and community would be my two biggest things, but I would say God first, even above
Mm-hmm.
that, because he got me through those nights that I would just bawl my eyes out because I wanted to say this too, like I felt like my life was over and I couldn't see a future. So my advice would be to cry out to God. Maybe you don't know him, but just
Mm-hmm.
try it. Just try. But then, yeah, just one day you're gonna look back and you're going to. That's just gonna be a different girl, a different man, and you're gonna be so happy, and you're gonna be so
Mm-hmm.
happy you learned to follow the process, and it's not easy, but it gets so much easier, and just remember that. Just keep the faith and get you a good community around you. That's what I would say.
Yes, I love that because I think that for me, since we're in the same thing, and actually this podcast, I wanted to intend it also for, I'm catering to Christian women because I believe that there is a need there too, especially to vocalize it. I think sometimes we don't talk about alcohol because it's like a bad thing to talk about in church anyways. So, and it's a struggle for a lot of us, right? Some people have two identities. They have their Christian friends and then they have their other life, and it gets intertwined somehow. But it's using your faith instead of willpower. That's what I see that
Mhm.
you're saying. And it's huge because willpower takes your own energy. And we all know that we can push for a while until we get fatigued and we get tired and you drop it. But that's the difference when you put faith and you put God in the forefront because he will never get tired. He is there with you, whether you get the DUI, you don't get the DUI. It doesn't matter. He's always there with mercy and grace. And mercy and grace is something that is hard for us to give ourselves. I think we're very hard on ourselves. I'm talking from my perspective and people that I talk to. But I love that. I love that faith rather than willpower. And what I see about your story is basically going from, something that was holding you back to becoming this living, vibrant, purposeful, God intended you. That's what I'm trying to, that is actually the message that I want to put out there. That when you work on yourself and you start seeing in your life, whether it's alcohol or something else, people struggle with different addictions, different things that just take our mind out of our true. I think our foundation is to first, right, seek God in his kingdom and then everything will be given in unto you. I'm paraphrasing, but I believe that that's our foundation. And for me, alcohol it took me completely away from that.
Mhm.
And that's why I want to encourage people. And for people that don't have faith, I love also what you said. Just try it. It doesn't mean that you have to go to a church and start doing all these things and have to just talking and try to have a relationship and say, hey, like you said, cry it out. Help me. If you're there, help me out. Let me feel you. And sometimes I think that will go a lot further than putting this pressure on us that we gotta do now Miss Perfect. Because let me tell you, honey, there's not such a thing as a perfect human.
Mhm.
So, with that said, is there anything else that you want to say before we go our separate ways? And thank you so much for being in the podcast.
I just want to say I love that you're helping Christian women too, because I think that's something I want to do. And I like what you said about um, it's not something that's talked about in the church, and things
Mhm.
like that. And it just made me think while you're talking, God never judged me. And I think that's why, like, he loved me where I was. I'm going to get emotional. He loved me where I was. And just, yeah, I just wanted to add that. Like, God won't judge you. the church may have,
Mm-hmm.
but he won't judge you. So I just wanted to add that. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for doing this
Thank
podcast.
you.
And I can't wait to see what you do with it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Yes. It's a beautiful journey with obstacles on the way, right? But we can overcome all of those obstacles, especially when we have God in our side. And I love that you said that he doesn't judge us. The problem is that we are the ones that judge ourselves. And what we tend to forget, if I could see God and looking at us, I'm like, man, she doesn't get it. I was with her when she was in that cell. I was with her. I've been with her the whole time, because I think if we were really alone, we would not even go through it. I don't know, our strength will not. So it's just to say that let's stop judging ourselves so hard. Forget about your past mistakes. Your past mistakes don't define who you are now. So, and that's easier said than done, but it is the truth. We have to learn how to forgive ourselves, because sometimes we tend to forgive people easier than we forgive ourselves. And that's not really helpful. We should start with forgiving ourselves and then we move on. But thank you so much, Ashley. I'm so proud of you as well. And I've seen your whole journey, so it's been wonderful to see. And to anyone that is out there, if you're a person that needs any type of help or you're questioning your relationship with alcohol, listen, I can definitely help you out. There's a free 45-minute call where we can just talk about what is it that you want, and we will go from there. Once again, friends, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next episode. And thank you, Ashley, for being here.
Thank you.